Welcome, proactive homeowners, to the webinar entitled Retirement Living Communities versus In-Home Care. My name is Brian Schwatka. I am a realtor and transition specialist with Keller Williams Bay Area Estates in Los Gatos. And I'm here today with Judy Jackson, who is the Director of Sales and Marketing at Sunnyview Retirement Community. Judy, maybe you could unmute yourself and say hi.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of the day. I think this is a very important program that we're putting on, and I think we'll continue to compare the qualities of both. So please stay tuned.
Yeah, this is near and dear to our hearts. Judy and I have been working together for the last, believe it or not, 17 years, coming up on 18 years, and this is the crux of what we talk to people about. It's why I called my entire system the Stay or Go Homeowner. You can either stay in your home and age in place or go to a retirement living community. So, who is this Brian Schwatka guy with the weird last name? If you need to look me up, just go on to Google, type in that weird name, Schwatka, S-C-H-W-A-T-K-A. You'll see reviews and videos and web pages and things like that, so you can kind of check up on me. I've been a realtor since 2004 in Los Gatos. I work with homeowners of all ages, but I love my retirees and my seniors, so I've taken my education to the next level. So I'm a seniors real estate specialist, a certified seniors advisor, and a self-proclaimed transition specialist. And that's what my goal is to turn you and the people you know into transition specialists. So I've created this system. It's called the Stay or Go Homeowner System. And first we help homeowners decide if they should stay or if they should go. And I know that sounds weird coming from a realtor. You might think I want to stick a sign in your lawn, but I don't. If it makes sense for you to stay, I'm going to help you stay. So first we decide if you should go, then we're going to decide where you should go. Should you go to a new, smaller, more home that suits your lifestyle better? Should we go to a retirement living community, or should we relocate out of the area? So now we know if we're going, where we're going, and then I help homeowners reduce stress by giving them a nice, smooth transition from their current home to their next home. I'm a realtor. So that's me in a nutshell. Here's the website that goes along with everything that I do, Stay or Go Homeowner. And we are going to now talk about retirement living communities versus in-home care. It's a huge, huge topic. It's really prevalent today, relevant in what's going on in the world. And so we understand it's not an easy decision. This is really difficult for people. So a lot of homeowners think that it's easier and less expensive to stay in their current homes, right? I don't have a mortgage. I'm just going to stay at home. Rather than making a transition to either an assisted living home or a retirement living community. And choosing between these options really involves a lot of factors. I mean, it's personal, it's emotional, it's financial. There's all sorts of emotions going on. There's all sorts of circumstances, and it really depends on your specific situation. So we're going to get into it a little bit. Here are your options as I see them. You can either stay in your home or move to another home that better suits your lifestyle. That's the whole age in place thing. You can also age in place with your friends and family, but it's not usually a popular option for people. So yes, we can age in place. The next one is more of an interim solution. We're not really going to talk about this today, but just so you know, there are assisted living, board and care, care homes, residential living homes. You've probably heard of like a smaller house, maybe with 8 or 10 people there. It's an interim solution, and there's also some memory care facilities and some skilled nursing facilities. Now, the next option is more of a long-term option, and that's the retirement living community option, or a continuing care retirement community. We call it a CCRC, which offers independent care, assisted living, not independent care, independent living, assisted living, memory support, and skilled nursing. So we're going to take that middle one off the tray today because we're not really going to talk about it. And what is in-home care? Well, it's pretty simple. It's assisted living right in your own home to help you age in place. And those services are paid for by the hour, and you can get them a la carte. You can get them part-time, full-time. You can get skilled care, dementia care. There's different costs for different levels and different amounts of time. And there's non-medical care and skilled health care. So there's a big difference there in the cost and the expertise. So that's what in-home care is. Now, what about a CCRC? What is a continuing care retirement community? What does a continuing care retirement community offer above and beyond what in-home care can offer? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Judy to answer this question because she is the queen of continuing care retirement communities. She's probably been doing this longer than anybody in the business. I think she started when she was 12. And so I'm going to hand it over to her. And Judy, can you tell us, the difference between in-home care and a continuing care retirement community? You have that assisted living component. Why would a continuing care retirement community assisted living component be better than, or what's different than in-home care?
Well, we're going to talk about the pros and cons throughout the slides, but I'm just going to explain what continuing care really is and what it offers. It offers independent living for folks that no longer want to cook. It offers socialization for folks that need the mental stimulus, physical, because we have a wonderful fitness center. And it also has housekeeping. It has certified nursing on staff and licensed nurse on staff. So most of our care is done with licensed and certified caregivers versus the in-home care that do not have that available. In addition, we have assisted living services that we offer, which we call Truly Yours, which are additional care services such as showers, medication management, escorts, and dressing. Memory care we have, which we call our summer house, and that has a wonderful program for the folks that it does have some memory issues. And then on our property, we have a skilled nursing. So we have a whole transition of when a person needs more care, they can transition from independent all the way to the end of life care, or maybe an interim care such as memory care, and then go into skilled nursing later. But the continuing care includes all levels of care.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for explaining that. So I, as a realtor, I hear great things from both sides. And this is what I hear from the in-home care side or the age-in-place side. And then this is what I hear also from the people that have made that transition to a retirement living community. The first and foremost thing that I hear about aging in place is that I don't have to downsize all my stuff. And we just had a webinar about how you need to downsize your stuff, whether you're staying or whether you're going, and how much joy it brings into your life. So that's a good thing for some people when they're aging in place, that they don't have to do that. You talk to somebody at a retirement living community and they say, I don't have a bunch of stuff anymore, so I'm already downsized. So it's a good thing for them. I hear on the aging in place side, I don't have to move. And I hear from the retirement living side is, I made my last move ever, I'm done thinking about it. Now I hear on the left side, I don't have a mortgage, so it's free to live here. Well, I would question that. There's still some costs involved, even if you don't have a mortgage. But on the retirement living side, they say, I sold my house and now I'm rich. So I'm not house rich, cash poor. I'm actually rich because you know what's going on in the real estate industry these days. So the next one is, my house keeps increasing in value. If I age in place, I keep making money. Well, on the retirement living side, they say, I'm not tied to this whole real estate market fluctuations. I'm out of that worry. Next thing they say on the aging in place is, my friends and family help me. My friends and family can come and visit me. On the retirement living side, they say, my friends and family are now unburdened. And they say, I'm meeting new like-minded friends in my new neighborhood. Now, let me just stop. I'm not trying to say that aging in place is bad or retirement living communities are better. I'm just saying this is what those people say. They're all good things. And here's what the retirement living community people say. So moving on, my caregiver cooks for me in my own home. At the retirement living community, our chef prepares healthy meals daily. and they change regularly. My caregiver drives me places. On the retirement living side, we have free transportation anytime we need it. My caregiver spends time with me in my home. We have groups, events, health club, entertainment, and social activities. I keep my independence if I age in place. Well, that's a big one. Some people say I'm going to lose my independence when I go to retirement living community, but the people at the retirement living community actually say I do whatever I want, whenever I want, but I have help readily available when I want them, when I need them, and I don't have to worry anymore. So great things from both sides. I get it. And now we're going to talk today about, the pros and cons of staying or going and aging or in place or a retirement living community. So in-home care services typically include non-medical stuff, okay? Personal care, companionship, doing some meal prep for you, some light housekeeping, some errands, shopping, some transportation. That's, the typical services you get when they come into your home. Now, there are these called activities of daily living. This is what insurance companies use and in-home care agencies use to rate or determine the needs of that individual. And there are 6 ADLs, and I put a couple of extras on here, and I'm going to have Judy talk to the activities of daily living. So can you chime in on that, Judy?
Sure. So when an insurance company has a program called long-term care insurance, a lot of folks have bought into this long-term care insurance, and they file a claim when they have maybe a minimum of 3, they call it activities of daily living, and the acronym is called ADLs. If they have 3 of those activities of daily living, and they may have a grace period within the long-term care insurance policy, they may qualify for in-home care, and they have to file a claim. Now, in many of the claims, they may not be accepted because it has to be care that's performed by a certified nurse, a licensed nurse. So it all depends how they're going to accept this ADL in their long-term care insurance if they're in-home. In a community such as Sunnyview or a continuing care community, our nurse is qualified to complete the form, as well as our nurses are the ones that do the caregiving, not necessarily in-home. So you have to be very careful when you do file a claim to see if your long-term care insurance in-home, in your house, will qualify, because it's very important that you have those certified agencies making sure that they have the proper care and the insurance company is qualified to issue you a check like that.
Now, even if they are covered by their insurance, that insurance might not cover all of the care of the in-home care company. So there still will be out-of-pocket costs, even though insurance is involved.
Right, right. So let's say the in-home care, long-term care is about $6,000 a month, and you might have more costs than that. It just all depends, but at least it offsets quite a bit of costs.
Yeah. Okay, so here are the pros and cons of in-home care. There are pros and cons. There's good things. So in-home care, in your home, you get that one-on-one care that can be tailored to meet your unique preferences and needs. You can call them up and say, here's what I need, send a caregiver out. You get to remain in your home, the comfort of your home, the comfort, security, knowing that home for years and years. Depending on when the care is needed, the skill level of the care required, in-home care can be cheaper than assisted living, because maybe you're only needing 3 or 4 or 6 or 10 hours a day or something. And so that might, yes, be cheaper than actually going to a board and care home or a continuing care retirement community. And then there's different types of care that you can combine together and kind of try and lower your costs. Those are the pros. The cons is that once you get to a level of in-home care, the cost is going to be prohibitive, and it would be better to make that jump because it's very, very expensive, and we'll show you these costs to have 24/7 care in your home. Also, we've heard a lot of complaints about security, safety, and privacy issues with people coming into your home, because it might not be the same person every day. There might be 2 or 3 people coming in the home each time, and you might feel a little awkward, because there's someone always there. It just might be a little, I don't know, unsettling. So there's that. There's the managing of those caregivers, and the backup care, because if something happens, this requires continual family involvement, okay? Because we're not at a community, we're doing it ourselves at home. Who's going to help you do the scheduling and the managing and all of that? That's going to be your friends and family, probably. Also, there could be some social isolation issues when you're all by yourself staying in your home. It's not the healthiest thing. You could be getting some depression or cognitive issues. And also, your home may have to be modified as you go forward, making doorways wider, ramps, bars, things like that. So there's some pros and cons for in-home care. Judy, do you want to add anything to that, or are we ready to go to the next slide? It's up to you.
I just want to add that a lot of times, let's say family members come over to the home and the caregiver's over, they may be in the same room, and the homeowner that needs the care has to ask the caregiver, could you leave? Because he wants to be in a private conversation with his friend or family member, and that caregiver's hovering over him, and she's constantly in the home, and he really doesn't have that much privacy to talk when he needs to talk. So that could be another con of the pros and cons, because of the privacy concern, and also safety, because let's say you have another caregiver that's coming over another shift and something was missing. You don't know, and you certainly don't want to wrongly accuse someone, but something is missing, and that's not as good as having the security that if you're in a place where people are bonded and licensed, you have to consider that as well.
Agreed. Okay. Okay, so the typical types of caregivers, the caregivers that are out there, here's what you're going to find. You're either going to depend on your friends and your family to orchestrate all of this, or actually give you that service to take care of you. Some people don't have friends and family to do that. Some people don't want to burden their friends and family to do that. They feel like they should pay them, and the friends and family are like, don't pay us. It's just something we want to do. It gets a little mucky. Then you can do a private hire. You can go on Craigslist or do classified ads, maybe word of mouth, and try and find somebody on your own to come in and do that care for you. It's kind of, there's no real background checks. You don't know who you're getting. So you don't know if they're qualified or they're trained or that you can trust them, anything like that. So private hire is a little bit sketchy. There are referral agencies out there who get paid for giving you information. So maybe they'll tell you, oh, we know this caregiver, or we know that caregiver, or we can send you to this board and care home. You're just paying for information, really. They're just referring you out, and they're getting a cut of that. Now, if you are going to use in-home care, we want you to use a full-serviced, licensed, insured home care agency. There are many of them out there. In fact, there's some out there that actually come to retirement communities and help out in addition to what the retirement community can do. So we're not bad-mouthing full-service, licensed, insured home care agencies. And I'm going to show you why it's so important to go with one of these agencies if you're going to have in-home care. And there's two types. There's the non-medical care, and then there's the skilled health care. So here's what a full-service agency can do for you. Okay, this is the reason why you might pay a little extra to get a full-service agency. They're going to locate, they're going to screen these people, background checks, they're going to interview them, they're going to train the caregivers. That's a full-service agency. With a referral agency or a private hire, you're going to have to do it yourself. Full-service agency is going to make sure they're licensed, bonded, insured, that they have payroll taxes taken out of their check. They're not going to be your employees. They're going to be the full service agency's employees. If you hire a direct person, you're going to have to be responsible for all of this, including paying their taxes and giving them a 1099 at the end of the year. They're going to take care of workers' comp insurance for their caregivers. They have liability, HR issues, disputes. They can do all the scheduling and the management and the care planning and all of that continued management. That's what you're going to get with a full service agency. So if you get one thing from the presentation, please don't try and do it yourself. Don't try and leverage your friends and family, and do it the right way. Okay, so that's full service agency. Couldn't recommend it more. If you're going to be doing this at home, please do that. Here are, surprisingly, the costs of in-home care. And we just used a round number of $35 an hour. I've heard of numbers more realistically, maybe $40 or $45 an hour, but I used a conservative number of $35 an hour. If you had one caregiver for 6 hours a day, that'd be $200 a day, $1,470 a week, $6,300 a month, $75,000 a year for 6 hours a day. Okay, pretty expensive for just somebody coming over and helping you for 6 hours. Let's jump down to 12 hours a day. That's $420 a day, $2,900 a week, $12,000 a month, $150,000 a year for part-time help, half of the day. If you want to get into 24-hour care, wow, we're talking $25,000 a month, $300,000 a year. That $300,000 would be better spent on investments or buying into a continuing care retirement community to get a lifetime care contract for the rest of your life, where you would never be kicked out and you could stay and be taken care of no matter what your care level needs are for the rest of your life. So that's just for regular care. And if you wanted skilled care or dementia care, these prices are going to go up from there. So, Judy, any comments on that?
These caregivers are not necessarily licensed. They could be just aides with just maybe skills of cooking, and they know how to take care of folks, but they don't necessarily mean that they have the license and they went through a school for that. They just know how to take care of some folks. And again, you have to worry about whether or not that person's going to come back the next day unless she's sick or she has a family member to take care of. You have to be careful.
Yep.
But if you look at 24-hour care, 302,000, this slide is very important to try to compare because it really makes a big statement of where your money's going.
Right. And if you think about it, $35 an hour really isn't that much. I mean, how much of that do you think goes to the actual caregiver? She's probably making, what, 20 bucks an hour. So, I mean, the caliber of caregiver could be anyone that wants to make minimum wage, that is willing to take a couple of classes, and now all of a sudden they're a caregiver. So in addition to this, you'll see in the left-hand column number of caregivers. I put if you need 2 caregivers, if you're maybe have a larger person that needs to be transitioned and you have to pay for 2 caregivers, the numbers are going to be doubled. So we don't even want to go there, but it could happen. It's okay. So pretty shocking. Now, how do you pay for in-home care, whether it's, in your home or even in a retirement community? So I'm going to have Judy talk to paying for in-home care or paying for assisted living in general.
So most of it is out of pocket. It's private pay because you have to pay the caregiver or the agency on the hourly basis, and you pay them by the month, and it's out of pocket. Unless you have some long-term care insurance that could offset some of the costs, which is great. But then again, you have the claim that you have to file carefully, and you have to have the agency word it carefully so that they can make sure that they process the insurance paperwork. Insurance companies are notorious to deny claims. We all know that, even in car insurance. And So you've got to be very careful about how they word it so that you can get your long-term care insurance that you really sacrifice to pay for it every month. And that's very tricky how you word it. In Medicare, Medicaid does not necessarily pay for it. It may cover a certain time period. Medicaid does not cover in-home care all the time. It might give you maybe a proportion of it, which is not a lot of money. You'd have to look into it. Veterans Association, it depends upon your benefits with the Veterans Association. In order to get a benefit from the Veterans Association, and I've had to try to get many of our residents benefits, you almost have to be penniless. So in other words, you can't even own a house in order to get this veterans benefit. You have to be very careful about that too. Reverse mortgage, that's a sure thing because you already have that money in your home. So that would help pay. But then again, when you looked at that slide, $300,000 is 1 year, not the whole lifespan, 1 year. Where are you going to get another $300,000 for the next year?
Agreed. Thank you. Okay, next one is just a little sad kind of a side note here. But we do need to be cognizant and think about the fact that maybe there aren't memory issues now, but maybe there could be memory issues. In-home care, memory support, the consistency with that person that has those dementia issues, those memory support, the consistency and trust is key. And with the caregiver shortage that there is right now going on, we'll talk about that. That means that the caregivers are constantly changing and there's no relationship that the memory care person can establish. Also, the in-home care agencies are not focused on dementia or training of their employees for dementia, and there are very few of them that can be found, and the prices go up. There's also some hidden costs in your home. Updating your bathroom, making sure there is a downstairs bedroom and bathroom, making sure there are door chimes, there's lighting, there's ramps, special locks so that they won't wander, maybe even some cameras. There's a lot of hidden costs that go into making your home ready for someone like that. And then there's both of you. You have to think of both of you, both homeowners. The person with dementia, yes, they're getting the care that they need, but what about that spouse that doesn't have it? If they are at a community, then they're going to get respite. They're going to have activities. They're going to have a support network. They're going to have the staff around that knows what they're doing. They know what the memory care person is going through. They can visit them at any time they want. They can have dinner with them. Judy, I'm sure they're the memory care section and maybe the independent and assisted living homeowner, they're living in the same community. Talk about the pros and cons or the pros of
Sure.
that.
So I have several stories and many family members that really wanted to keep their spouse at home, and they did have a caregiver for them in home with the spouse that did have the um, severe dementia. And at one point, they just couldn't take it anymore to the fact that they didn't want 24-hour care. The spouse kept waking up middle of the night, sleepless nights for the spouse that didn't have the dementia. And so it turned out that they did end up here at Sunnyview or maybe another community. But unfortunately, the spouse was the caregiver. And even though they had an in home caregiver, it was really the spouse that was exhausted and they couldn't they couldn't handle that support anymore because it really wasn't as much of a support as they thought it would be. Whereas when they go to a continuing care that does have memory support, you have all levels, again, of the caregivers. They've been educated. They have a 6-month program that they learn how to take care of the individual. And they also have the consistency of being a companion to that spouse. So they do not move back and forth with a new caregiver, so they're really familiar with that. And the spouse that doesn't have the dementia is free to be unburdened and feel that they really have a respect now for their spouse because they're no longer the caregiver. So it really becomes a win-win for them.
And they're right there, only 100 yards away. They can go eat with them, they can watch TV with them, and then go back to their apartment.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to mention the memory support care, the memory support component of all of this. It's unpredictable, it's difficult, and this is the better way to handle something like that. So here is a checklist for you. If you are choosing an in-home care provider, you can maybe use your iPhone or something and take a picture of this. But you want to make sure that the agency is licensed, bonded, and insured, that they have the appropriate checks in place, fingerprinted, Department of Justice clearance, reference checks, TB test, COVID test, who's responsible for paying taxes, who's responsible for workman's comp, who supervises these employees, and is there a deposit required or a cancellation fee? So if you're going to call a couple of the full service reputable companies, make sure you're asking them these questions.
Very important to have this kind of a checklist. And a lot of folks may just, again, hire a friend or a referral, but this really helps because you know that they're accountable.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's just talk real briefly. I don't want to down talk that industry. These are just facts. You can look this up on the internet. I went to Home Healthcare News and read some alarming industry issues that are going on right now. It's overload. So the in-home caregiver industry is one of the fastest growing and most requested services in the entire United States today. That industry is getting completely overwhelmed by baby boomers and by COVID. So they said that in 2030 that all of the baby boomers will have made it to 65 and 1 in every 5 residents will be of retirement age. There's a big influx of us baby boomers coming and needing in-home care services. And also, because of the COVID, they don't want to go out and go shopping and do all the things that the in-home care companies can do for you. So they're hunkering down in their homes and they're calling these in-home care companies. So there's a shortage of qualified workers. They need to be trained. So they're trained in a matter of hours, not 6 months like Sunnyview is doing. The workers are working overtime, 12-hour shifts. There's no real supervision or regulation. Now, there are in some of them, but in some of them there are not, and they are overwhelmed, and so they can't possibly they're hiring people, they can't possibly supervise and regulate the way they used to 2 or 3 years ago. So with that industry overload, there's no real consistency, so you might get a different caregiver each time. And believe it or not, these companies are not obligated in a contract to work every day or always have someone available. They'll say, we'll try, if your caregiver was sick, we'll try and get someone else out there, but they're overloaded. So all of their people are allocated to other homeowners. So you might get spotty, sporadic kind of service. So this is the industry overload. Now, the next slide is about the turnover problems, because the number one problem that the in-home care agencies are having is people leaving, right? So 82% of the people, this was in 2018, even before COVID, they're having huge turnover because they're hiring anybody. The people are like, wow, I didn't know what I was in for. Now I get it. And they do turnover. Or maybe there's another in-home care company that might offer them a little bit more money, and they know that's their background, and now they can leave. So it's pretty scary on the turnover problems. They also said that the in-home care providers, these in-home care services, had to turn away 50% of their clients. So even if you think, well, I'm just going to go down the in-home care path, you're going to give them a call and they're not going to have the availability for you. And they might give their caregivers to somebody who's given them 24-hour contract rather than a la carte 6 hours here, 6 hours there. So
I
If
want to
you're
make sure that everybody knows that there's a minimum of hours. You can't hire somebody for 2 hours a day saying,
right,
oh, the other days, I just want to go grocery shopping. I need somebody to babysit or have somebody in home for a couple of hours. I'm just going to go away. There's a minimum. Sometimes the minimum's 4 hours. Sometimes the minimum are 6 hours. So you have to consider that.
yeah, agreed. So also these caregivers, like I was saying, they might only be making minimum wage or $15 an hour or something. And you know how expensive it is to live here in Silicon Valley. So they're probably commuting out of the area in traffic. Something could go wrong on the way, whatever it is. So it's kind of sad thing there. And these people are trying to look for jobs that pay more. Believe it or not, you can go and work at Macy's, or you could work at Burger King, or have a job at Amazon that's going to be paying more than these workers are making. There's the turnover problem. So as all of this increases and the demand increases and the workers, there's less of them, it's obvious supply and demand that these prices are going to go up. So we're talking about $35 an hour now. Next year could be $45, $55. Those are going to increase. It's just a matter of time. Okay, so next, we've got the top 10 complaints. I don't want to get too down on this. There were the top 10 complaints, the communication issues, the timing, the punctuality of the caregiver getting to your house. They're spending time on their phones. They don't have the training. These are what people have said, the top 10 complaints on the internet. So it's there. We all know it. We don't want to beat a dead horse into the ground. So, when is it time to consider assistance? So, I've heard, maybe someone's feeling lonely, a little depressed, they need some companionship. Maybe they need a little help around the house. Their balance becomes a little unsteady. Maybe they're having a risk of some falls. They're losing track of their medications or things. They need some help just taking care of themselves. Or maybe they might be recovering from an injury or an illness or hospitalization. Maybe they're just doing a short term kind of a thing. Or the worst case scenario is they waited a little too long and they had a decline in their physical condition or their memory. And here's the big problem: if you're going to get anything out of this presentation today and you're going to tell somebody and warn somebody of something, we want you to know that please don't wait too long to make a decision. I'm going to explain why that's so important now. In a continuing care retirement community, they want you to come in the front door. They want you to come in the independent living front door. Okay? And what happens is once you've come in the front door, now you have preferential treatment so that you can move through the system. You can move through the community and you can move into assisted living. From assisted living, maybe you might move into memory care. From memory care, maybe short term, you might need some skilled nursing. In a continuing care retirement community, you're going to have access to all of these, and you, as someone who came in the front door, who didn't wait too long to make this decision, you get preferential treatment, first right of refusal going through that system. If you were to say, wait until you needed assisted living or in home care, or you needed memory support or skilled care, and you tried to come in the side door, it's going to be really hard for you because there's all this other line of people that are moving through the system. So that's why it's so critically important not to wait too long. So, Judy, you and I talk about this all the time. If I meet somebody on the street, I almost want to say, "Don't wait too long." This is the crux of the whole presentation. So, if you want to add on to that, I would appreciate
Sure.
it.
A lot of folks think that because we are a retirement community that we're like everybody else. We're like Belmont Village. We're like Sunrise. We're like Atria, Brookdale. They're different, and we can talk about different communities, but they're totally different than a continuing care community. And the reason for not being able to go into memory care or assisted living from the side door is a lot of them will not accept somebody with pre-existing conditions. So you have to be very careful of what their rules and policies are. Now, Sunnyview will have availability and you can come into memory care, but we prefer that you come independent because we want you to start socializing and meeting new friends. but we do have that available. But you do not have priority in if you do come into assisted living or memory care. The ones that have priority are the ones that have come in independent, bought in, and they all have priority, and then they can go to the end of life. So it's very important to maybe sure that you don't wait too long. And we may have a wait list, and when you're ready, you might be 2 to 3 years on that wait list, and you want to move in now. So it's very important to be proactive, make the decision, and then file an application and make sure that you're on their wait list.
Yeah. And I could imagine people saying, you know, I only need a little bit of care in the home. I'll just kind of start out gradually, dip my toe in the water. And then when I need to go to a retirement community, then I'll get on the waiting list and I'll go to the retirement community. That's a fine line. You can't predict when something's going to happen.
So what happens is folks want to stay in their home. They go into the skilled nursing because they have a hip fracture, they fell. They need in-home care. Again, they don't have the staffing. They don't know who to call. They don't have the proper knowledge because it's an emergency that they fell and they have to go back home. What do? Oh, I don't want to go to a facility. I don't want to go to a community. I want to go back home. Well, then they're in the skilled nursing. They have to scramble to find some in-home care at home. Whereas if they were in the skilled nursing and they know that Sunnyview has assisted living, they could call Sunnyview's assisted living and find out, especially if they're already here, whether or not we have a little bit of availability, and then they can go home after a couple of months if they want to. But then they decide, no, I'll just stay here because my home is not equipped for anything, and I'd rather feel safer here than go home. So that's usually what's been happening if we do ever have availability. But you don't want to wait for the calamity or the disaster to happen.
Amen. All right. So let's talk about when you do live at a retirement community, you have a monthly fee, much less than in-home care. And look at what you get. Even if you were paying the monthly fee and you were staying at home, none of this is available in your home. So these are all the things, the cherry on the top, the frosting on the cake, all the things you get in addition to that care, all of these other amenities and benefits. So it's a wonderful place, and you're getting bigger bang for your buck, I think. Now, remember we talked about the costs of in-home care. Okay, we talked about how one person 24 hours a day could be $300,000 a year. We talked about how for 12 hours it could be $12,000 a month, and could go up if you needed skilled or dementia care. So let's go back to Sunnyview's pricing model, and I'm going to have Judy talk about the different models and the different costs and why it's so much better and cheaper.
Sure. So what you're seeing are the different floor plans, and it depends upon what your lifestyle is. And in many of the floor plans, we list the square footage and the monthly fee, and then what that yearly amount would be. The entrance fee is similar to a security blanket. And again, with many continuing care, they're headed by a foundation so that when you choose to buy in and come to a continuing care, that is an insurance policy, your entrance fee. So if you ever run out of money because you outlived all your assets, Sunnyview and many of the retirement communities with their foundation will never ask you to leave. So that benefit is always available to you. The other thing is, if you looked at what the options were for having an in-home care just for 1 year, it was for 24-hour care, it was $300,000 a year. This is a one-time fee for $106,000. Or if you're in a two-bedroom, it's $337,000. You will never have to worry about moving again and moving out or being asked to leave. And that right there is security for anybody that worries about money.
Yeah, and try and find a condo in Cupertino for $300,000.
That's a down payment.
Yeah, that's a tough shed. Okay, so we can see that it makes a lot of sense. And remember, not only do you get that, but you get all of this. So there's your cost differences. And when should you make the jump? I would say that you're probably going to be leaving sooner or later, unless you're filthy, wealthy, rich, and you can stay paying that amount of money every year and you really wanted to and you didn't want all those benefits. But I'm pretty sure you're going to be leaving sooner than later. So, as we said, I'm going to nail it in every time. Don't wait too long or you're going to run out of options. We want you to go when you're healthy, when you're independent. You should be considering things like your ability level, your available support network, your friends, your family, your siblings, your finances. The goal in life is to not outlive your funds. Cash flow is paramount. You need a financial plan. Judy can put together for you a financial plan that shows how you're not going to outlive your funds. That's part of the initial assessment is your health and your finances. So, Judy, can you want to talk about that a little bit as far as how you can help them do their financial planning?
Sure. So what we do is we talk about their goals and we talk about their health, and we also talk about what kind of funds they have. So when we do the review of their application, we discuss their funds and we make sure that they qualify. And then they'll want to know how they qualify, and we'll go into more of a discussion of how the funds are allocated every year. It's increased, but it's not a jump such as your costs of in-home care. So we talk about that.
So let's go to after the when to make the jump. This is kind of my 2 cents. Here comes the realtor into the show. My thoughts on home ownership. Your home may continue to rise in value, yes, but it may not increase in value. Home appreciation rates have leveled off. They're not as good as neighboring states. You're still tied to the real estate market fluctuations. And a lot of my clients are house rich, cash poor. All of their funds are tied up in the house. They can't afford the home care even if they wanted to, or the home maintenance, or making the home safer to age in place. And the longer you keep that home, the more capital gains you're going to be paying. And we're going to talk about this in the next webinar about capital gains. It's called the Ready, Set, Go webinar. So we'll talk about that next month. Does this home really suit your lifestyle, your current lifestyle? And can you maintain it? Do you want to maintain it? Do you picture yourself in this home in the next 10 to 15 years? Is that your vision of the future? Okay. Or is it time to cash out of your largest investment? Now, when we talk about investments, when do you want to sell your investment, right? You want to buy low, you want to sell high. We are currently in the most dynamic, white hot real estate market that I've ever seen. I've been at it long enough. I've talked to realtors who've been at it for 35 years and never seen anything like it. I'm not trying to instill any false sense of urgency. I'm just telling you things are going bananas right now. And if you wanted to sell your investment at the highest point, now would be the best time to make a move. So you kind of got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, when to walk away, when to run. Don't wait too long, like I said. And the real estate market, there are corrections. About every 10 years, we have an ebb and a flow. We had one in 89 to 91. We had one in 2008 to 2009 where we all remember this one. We lost about 20% of our home values. Some people lost 40% of their home values. Even 20% of $1,000,000 or $200. I mean, $200,000 it's a lot of money there. I mean, you can use that money for your long-term care contract, right? Your entrance fee to the retirement community. So, and these markets take a while to come back. No one thinks it's going to happen. They're like, let it ride, let it ride. But when it happens, It hits hard and it hits fast. And why do real estate markets correct? The answer, it's the most important word in real estate, it's inventory. So the more homes that come on the market, the more the buyers have a choice, the more the prices come down. And that's why real estate markets correct, because everybody finds out what their neighbors are doing, and their neighbor got $250,000 over asking with 10 offers in 2 days. So I'm going to put my house on the market too. So here are the things that increase inventory, right? Now we can transfer our property taxes, Prop 19, anywhere in California. So people are thinking, might sell my house, cash out, and go somewhere cheaper and live off of that money. Uh, Flat appreciation rates as compared to neighboring states. People are leaving the area due to telecommuting. You don't have to live in Cupertino to work at Apple anymore. They want a different way of life, a little slower, a little less populated, a little less graffiti and homeless. They're looking for larger homes because they're staying in their homes, they're working in their homes, they're homeschooling. Cost of living in this area is pretty high. Mortgage interest rates are good now, so your buyers can afford more home, but you can also afford more on the next buy. Lots of social and political issues going on. We all heard them on the news. Taxes, it's a very, very expensive state. It's the most expensive state to run a business. We've had 18,000 companies leaving California in the last couple of years. Unemployment due to COVID. Consumer confidence is a little shaky right now. Rental prices are coming down because people are leaving. And rental restrictions, where it's now because of COVID, you don't have to pay your rent for 2 years. And these homeowners, the landlords, still have to pay their mortgage. So they're selling their rental properties. So all of these things are happening right now. Inventory is increasing right now. And in supply and demand, that just means prices are going to come down. So again, don't wait too long. Again, I'm not trying to stick a sign in your lawn or scare you to sell your house. I'm just all about education and helping people make the best decisions for their future. Judy is the same way. We don't want you to do anything that doesn't make sense for you. We just want to be here as a consultant for you, to be a sounding board. We've been doing it for so many years. We can talk to you in a non-confrontational, non-expectational way. So I think things are happening. So we have to think about what are the next steps in this whole, should I stay? Should I go? Should I do in-home care and age in place? Should I move to the cruise ship on land? So the next steps I see would be kind of to have a conversation with yourself and with your friends and family to see how much help you really do need. How much is that actually going to take? How much time and effort is that going to take? How much burden is that going to be on the people that are taking care of you? And you know what? I just thought of something. Even if we're not talking about care for you, you might be thinking about in-home care for your parents or your friends or someone else. So when we teach things to you, we want to teach you in a way so that you can help other people, right? Iron sharpens iron. So take this, what you know, and try and help other people make good decisions as well. So weigh those pros and cons. Go to Sunnyview, take a tour of that retirement community, take a tour of other retirement communities. They're not all the same. There's apples, oranges, lemons, bananas. Get on a waiting list or maybe even multiple waiting lists. That's your insurance policy to get that clock rolling, because when you're ready, you might have to wait a year or two. So you might as well get on the waiting list now. Be proactive, make things happen. Don't wait for things to happen, and don't wait till it's too late. So, Judy, do you have anything to add to what they might think of on their next step of their decision making process?
I think you nailed it. I really do. I think everything here is pretty clear, and I just want everybody to go away knowing that the differences and what the costs are, and that was very valuable information.
Okay, great. So if you need help, I'm here for you. No expectations, no charge, no strings attached. If you want to talk about planning your perfect future, if you want to talk about different living options, your capital gains, all of these other things that we're going to be talking about next month, and if you can't wait for that, just give me a call or go on to stayorgohomeowner.com. There's a little tab there for consultation. Schedule a consultation, schedule an analysis, um, schedule an appointment with Judy. Let's just let's just get conversation going and get our ideas out there. Start brainstorming and start just telling us what your fear, uncertainties, and doubts are. So here's the website. It's non-confrontational. There's nothing to buy. It's just a bunch of educational videos so that you can learn. That's what I'm all about. And come see our next webinar. It's on June 15th from 11 to noon. It's called the Ready, Set, Go. We do this a couple times a year. And we talk about capital gains, how much you'll walk away with, how you're holding title, how you should be holding title just in case something happens between between now and the time you do sell your home. We're talking you could be saving hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're just holding title correctly. What are the steps involved in selling? How do you get your home ready to go on the market? What you do need to do, what you don't need to do. There's a 60-day transition window. We need to stick to that, so I'll explain that to you. And then we'll explain what the expectations are of the retirement community. So that's all next month, free to you. If in the meantime, if you want a Ready, Set, Go transition manual, you can go on the website and ask for that, or you can send an email to myself or Judy. That's really about it. We just want to thank you for being so proactive. Hope you learned a little something today. Thanks, everybody, and we'll have that video out to you shortly. Take care. Bye-bye.